Welcome, everybody, to Freelance Writing Direct. I'm your host, Estelle Erasmus, the author of Writing That Gets Noticed, Find Your Voice, Become a Better Storyteller, Get Published, which was named by Poets and Writers a best book for writers. Every week, I speak with novelists, with authors, with writers of every niche to talk about their tips, their tricks, their strategies, and how the sauce is made, including creative advice. I'll talk about essays and articles and share my own experience from 3 decades of publishing. So join me every week and grow your business and build your craft with Freelance Writing Direct. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes. And follow along on Substack, where I share special clips for subscribers only at estelleserasmus.substack.com. Welcome, everybody, to this episode of Freelance Writing Direct. And I am so happy to have Adam Schaeuble with us today. He is a full-time podcaster, podcasting business consultant, and the host of the Apple Top 100 rated podcast, Podcasting Business School. Adam helps coaches, consultants, and service providers create a 6-figure online business platform with their podcast at the center of their business ecosystem. So welcome to the program, Adam.
Well, Estelle, I am so excited to be here.
I want to talk to you about some of the things that you said to me initially about, just from the very beginning of when you have a title for your podcast, what gets the people to find you, what makes you discoverable?
Okay, so this is a great place to start because I know you probably have a lot of people that are what I would label as either pod curious or maybe even podcrastinators, where they've been thinking about launching for a while, but they've been podcrastinating. They haven't quite done it yet. So the name of the show is really, really important. And because that is our most powerful search engine tool when it comes to when people search things on Apple or Spotify in that search bar, the name of our show is the most important thing, carries the most weight. So I've got 3 rules, and I shared this with Estelle when we meet up. This is where we start. If you do this, you're going to see results. And what I'm about to tell you all with these 3 check boxes, if you already have a show and you are checking 0 out of 3, I almost guarantee you're doing less than 100 downloads per episode. All right. And if you start checking all 3, I bet you'll double your downloads in the next 30 days. All right. So the 3 things for Adam's perfect podcast name formula. The first checkbox we have to check is when I read the title of your show, when I read the name of your podcast, I need to know exactly what it's about. All right. And we'll kind of unpack these in a second. But the second checkbox is when I read the name of your podcast, I need to know exactly who it's for. And then the third checkbox is I must have at least 2 searchable keywords in the name of the show. So checkbox 1, what's it about? Checkbox 2, who is it for? Checkbox 3, I need at least 2 keywords. And the issue that most people run into when they launch a show is we are creative. We are content creators. We are artists. Yeah, we create things. And we get too cute and too creative with the names of our show. And it's like an inside joke that nobody gets and no one can find us because it's like the Amazing Adam Experience show. And no one is searching any of those words. And the search factor, the keywords are really, really important there's 2 sides of growing a show. One side of the coin is organic discoverability, and the other side is effort-based marketing. Most podcasters launch a show and burn themselves out because all they do is effort-based marketing, buying ads, Facebook posts, Instagram posts, posting everywhere, trying to guess on other people's podcasts. That's all effort-based. Organic discoverability starts with the 3 check boxes that I just gave you for the title of your podcast.
Okay, so using myself as an example, because that's what you told me, I said my podcast is Freelance Writing Direct. And do you remember what your response was to that?
I think that we've got a keyword in there, and we can assume what it's about with the phrase freelance writing in there. But I want to sneak in a little bit more of who it's for, like, or what type of freelance writing for
Yeah.
who. And then I want at least one more keyword in there. That's what we kind of were working on.
So you told me to put in conversations with, and I put authors, memoirists,
Yep.
freelance writers, and writers of every niche.
I call that a title extension strategy. So when I talk to people, especially when they hire me and they're like, my name isn't working, what should I do? And we have the conversation of, is this a full-on rebrand where we erase the board and start from scratch, or do we take what you've got and extend the title? So with you, you've kind of got a brand built around and you've got, there's name recognition and things like that going on. So I was like, let's do a title extension where we go name of the show, colon, conversations about tips for XYZ, and XYZ are keyword, but also identifying terms for who this show is for. So authors, right? All those words that people are searching on the Apple search bar for somebody that wants to find a show like yours. They're probably putting in there like tips for authors or something like that, or tips for writers. And that if you have that phrase in the name of your show, OMG, you're going to show up early in that search.
And I was worried that the subhead would be too long because I had agents, publishers, like anything that could be searchable in the little colon that after freelance writing direct. And you said that's not an issue, right?
Yeah.
Just have it in there because
Yeah.
again, it's not in my branding. My branding is just freelance writing direct. And
Yep.
you even told me, so let's talk visual image, because I showed you my visual that I was using. And at the time, I was using Freelance Writing Direct with my photo and also a picture of my book, Writing That Gets Noticed. And what did you tell me?
So my general advice on the art of the show, and I have to do a quick explanation of exactly what we're talking about, but sometimes people get confused because there's like, you can put each individual episode can have art with like your guest and stuff like that. That's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the podcast show image, the image that pops up when somebody searches for your podcast. So that's what we're talking about. So my rule with this is I want the text to be the star of the show, and it has to be very readable, and everything else is kind of dressed up around the text. So a mistake a lot of people make, giant picture of us, little fancy text, or like there's all these bells and whistles and images, or a really busy background, and makes it really hard to read. And when we talk organic discoverability, somebody types in freelance writing tips, Estelle's show is going to pop up. But if all the words are like italicized and tiny and thin and unreadable on a tiny little iPhone screen with 20 other images, she's not going to win that, and people aren't going to click on it. So with you, I said, let's get rid of the book. Let's make the words thick and the star of the show, and let's put your subtitle like with like a shadow box and throw a little bit of that on there. Like, I like if somebody searches one of those keywords, it helps if those keywords are popping up in the image as well a little bit.
I didn't do that because I had a logo just that had my photo, because that's also part of, I'm the brand, but I had one without the book in it. So I use that until I redo it. And then the other thing you said is in the description of the podcast to do some basic questions, like you showed me an example of yours, which is something, again, I guess it's SEO related, right? So it's like, if you're looking for information on writing books, being a freelance writer, making an income, structuring your book, put a bunch of bullet points.
So basically, after the name of your show, what is referred to as your host description, which that's when you find a new show, you see the image and there's a little blurb about the show. That's like a little advertisement, like this might be for you if. So that's the second most powerful SEO tool we have for organic discoverability. So every keyword that you want to show up for, I want at least 2 of those to show up in the title of your show, maybe more, hopefully, but all of them should be in the host description, every single one of them. And this is something that I recommend people look at at the end of each quarter and update and just make sure like, oh, I really want to start showing up for online, the search term online business or solopreneur or stay at home mom or Christian women or whatever. Like make sure we're updating that and put all those terms in the description of your show. And I like a little two-pronged approach where we all have that paragraph that describes our show. Like everybody has that. So look at that and revamp it and go, where can I fit keywords in? Or do I need to create some new language to get all the keywords in there? And then what Estelle referenced was what I call the Google question, second paragraph. So first paragraph is there, general description of your show, lots of keywords. Then we transition. I like a sentence like, this show is for you if you find yourself asking questions such as, and then I want you to list in question format 5 to 10 of the top questions that your ideal listeners would be putting into Google to find content like what you're going to talk about on your show. So how do I write my first book? How do I get articles published in magazines or whatever? Like those questions in question format. Now, this is a two-pronged SEO boost because with all the keywords, that's helping us with our podcast, organic discoverability. With those actual Google questions, that's going to help in Google search so that our show and our episodes are pulling up when people ask those specific questions in the Google search bar.
So, Adam, it seems, people who want to start podcasts, they maybe have the personality for it, right? They're showmen, they're performers, they have this aspect of even showing what they do and in interviewing people and showing personality and tips and tricks. And for me, it's very actionable advice for my listeners and viewers. Also, I tape video. And so it almost seems like the SEO part, which is so important, gets overlooked if you have that kind of personality. Like I didn't really think about it until you told me about that. And I thought, wow, that really can make a big difference in the age of search, in the age of SEO. And one of the things you told me, and I did start doing it, is solo episodes. So I did one solo episode all about pitching, because that's one of my areas of expertise. It is blowing away. I'm shocked that it's doing even better than some of my interview with, esteemed guests. And I'm like, wow, okay. And I did another video that's focused on trends. And I think it's really interesting. Can you speak to that? And also something else you suggested to me, which is to do coaching videos. Can you speak to both of those elements?
Yeah. So with this line of thinking, what I'm trying to promote to podcasters is that if you're a service provider, if you're a coach, if you're an online consultant, even if you are somebody that wants to speak on stages and get booked for TEDx talks and speaking engagements, if you only do interviews, you are viewed as the person that interviews the expert and not the expert. And that's a problem. I have so many people that eventually become my clients that come to me and they're like, Adam, I've been, I talked to a woman yesterday that had 300 episodes, 300, very slow growth and no money coming in, not getting any clients, was only doing interviews. And I go, listen, it was like a light bulb got switched on. It's like, you aren't the expert of your own show. Your guests are. That's why no one's buying from you. And it was like emotional. She's like, holy crap, like this is crazy. So when you flip that switch, I've got a rule. It's called Adam's 2/3 rule for expert positioning. I want 2/3. So I told this to Estelle. I said, I want 2/3 of your content to have you positioned as the expert. And if you do that, you will convert a much higher percentage of your listeners into becoming clients because they see you as an expert. They've now positioned you in their mind as a coach with solo episodes and coaching style episodes. So as of today, I've got 453 episodes of Podcasting Business School. And I only do an interview once every other month, maybe once per quarter. And every Tuesday, solo episode, every Friday, I do a coaching style episode. So as people find my show, because of my organic discoverability is super dialed in, they find the show, they binge listen. They'll find it on a Thursday, binge listen all weekend to 20 or so episodes. And then on Tuesday, they're signing up for a discovery call and ready to do business, ready to hire me.
So this is fascinating, and I want to break it down a little bit more. So when I do my interviews, right, because, right, I have a book out, and that's part of my whole purpose that I started the podcast, in fact. And so I add in my expertise or my knowledge when I'm talking to the interviewee. So I'm saying, yes, what I've learned in my 3 decades on publishing on both sides of the wall is this. Do you agree with that? Or this is what learned. What I've noticed in your book is that you've employed service journalism, which I talk about in a chapter in my book. So I'm tying it in that way. Is that something you recommend doing in addition to the solo episodes?
I mean, I definitely think it's good, but we also can't, like, I think people can easily fool themselves into thinking that I'm only doing interviews, I'm doing it like Estelle said, and I'm good with expert positioning. Because if you have someone else on your show, they are the featured guest,
Yeah.
they are the expert, like, period. No matter how much I talk and how much I show off, if, like, I've had clients that we've kind of gone around about this, and they come back to me all of a sudden, they're like, I just heard that my last guest sold a ton of their coaching programs to my listeners from their interview on my show, and they were like very similar. I'm like, that's what won them over. I'm like, listen, you got to start doing solos. You got to start doing coaching, because that person is an invited guest. Just mentally, that's the featured person. Their image is on the art. Their name is on the title of the episode. They're viewed as the expert, no matter how good we come off. It's just like a mental thing. So that's the power of the solo. So yeah, definitely have like an even, like, a rounded conversation. There's banter back and forth, and that's excellent. But still, that 2/3 content rule
Still go.
is the deal. You can have 1/3 still. Like, that's something that's like, but you got to make them count. That's the other thing. No, like, loosey goosey. I'm not sure if they're a good fit. It's kind
Right.
of if you get that feeling in your gut, that's like, I don't know if my audience is gonna be into this, or I'm not into it. Then it's a no. If it's not a heck yes, it's a no. That's my
Right.
rule.
No, I love that. Now, talk to me about the coaching, because I set up one, and it's somebody that I haven't worked with before, but she's read my book, she's followed me, she's learned a lot from me. And so I'm going to be coaching her, kind of talking about where she's going to go with her writing, where she's going to go with her career. This is, live. I mean, it'll be taped, but it'll be
Oh
in
yeah,
the moment, which I
yeah.
actually do like being in the moment, but there's also a trepidation to that too, right? What are your thoughts on that? Or should I have former students come and talk about how I coach them and then do a little coaching? Like, how do you recommend doing something like that for me, for somebody else who is a teacher of writing?
Okay, I love where you're going with this, Estelle. I think we have options, and we're gonna have to test the waters a little bit, see what we like, see what's ELF, easy, lucrative, fun. ELF, easy to remember. That's a Joe Polish from the I Love Marketing podcast acronym. He's got ELF and half. ELF is easy, lucrative, fun. Half is hard, annoying, lame, and frustrating. So we want ELF, not half. So ELF with the coaching style episodes, we can kind of use the label coaching style episode, but so these could be people that have never worked with you before, that have read your book or follow you on social media or listen to your show. You're inviting them onto your platform for free coaching, and it's not a sales call. There's no pitch at the end. I tell my clients, I'm like, don't even try to sell them anything. Just in the call like you would an interview. Just everything's cool. And so that's one option. And I always recommend 30 minutes or less, because if people, my opinion is, if I'm going to spend more than 30 minutes with somebody, they should probably be paying me, because I'm going to be dishing out the good stuff at that point. So that's kind of the way that I do coaching style episodes. I call them podcast audits on my brain. My listeners can sign up. I've got like an 8-month waiting list to get in, and I send out an email, and they all fill up really quick, because people are like, "This is awesome," and they get to be a guest on my show. They get to shout out their show on my show. It's a cool thing. So that's one variation. Another variation would be a success story episode. So I did this in my with my health podcast. I had a really successful membership model where I had current members in my membership come on my show on Fridays for a 15-minute bonus coaching session. And it was kind of like we talk about the results they've gotten so far, but we get into like, hey, what's your next goal? What's the main pain point that you're dealing with to get there? And I would coach them on that on the show, but it's also like a testimonial built in. So it's like coaching plus the testimonials. I call that a success story episode. But it could just be results based only. So let's say, I was going to do a success story episode with one of my previous clients that I helped them, build a lead magnet, and they put 10,000 people on their email list or something like that. We would unpack that and just go, okay, what was the issue that you're dealing with when you came to me? Here's the protocol that we used to fix it. What are the results been since we fixed it? And that could be a success story episode. And that's great expert positioning. And it's like a testimonial again. So I think that whether they've never worked with you or they have worked with you, either way. And with my health membership, I would do those success story episodes. And then I would, in the intro and outro and during, I'd be like, and hey, if you want to be just like whoever's on the show, use the code, Adam, to get 50% off your first month inside the membership, because you can only do these bonus coaching sessions if you're a member. So it really fed and grew my membership quite a bit.
Wow, that's amazing. And you talk about that, you unpack that in your episodes out of your 453 episodes of your podcast, which is just amazing. And I've looked at your blog also, because I couldn't consume, although I want to, all 453 episodes. And you break it down as well on your website of what you're covering, which is fabulous. And that was a tip that I learned from you also. I started putting things more on my website and putting almost every episode since I became the solo host of my podcast.
Yeah.
So you talk about also what to do to best position yourself for podcast hosts. And can you share some, because this is so great, Adam, you're sharing so many of these actionable tips, which is what I love and what my podcast is all about. And so what are some of the top things that you totally recommend besides the coaching and the 2/3 for podcasters?
Yeah. I mean, I think it always starts with weekly episodes, weekly content. I say that fully knowing that most podcasters are doing this in hobby mode or side hustle mode. They've got that 9 to 5 and they're doing this thing and they want to build an online business and they're kind of in the after hours of their 9 to 5 building it out. And a lot of people are like, I can only do one a month. I can only go twice a month, every other week. Consistency, consistent days, consistent times will help. So even if you are going every other week, same day, same time release, and really, because we want to ingrain our content into the lifestyle routines of our ideal listeners. This is a podcasting superpower. But weekly content is the most powerful, because imagine that Estelle listens to Podcasting Business School every Tuesday when she's doing her evening walk on Tuesdays. My show just got inserted into her life routine because she goes on that walk every single Tuesday evening after dinner, and she likes to listen to audio. And my show, she enjoys it. And now let's say I don't put out an episode for 3 weeks. She's in the habit of listening to stuff. She's going to listen to Spotify. She's going to check out a different show. I'm out of her rhythm. And podcast content, audio content is unique because no other type of content is consumed like that. Like people aren't like, oh, it's Tuesday at 5 p.m. I've got to read Adam's blog, or I've got to watch Adam's YouTube video, or I got to check Adam's Instagram account. Doesn't happen. They consume that as we run into it or as we're thinking about it. It's random. With audio content, we can put ourselves in the life routine of our ideal listeners / clients, and that's huge. So weekly content is very important so that we stay in that routine. We get that real estate, we want to hold on to it. So even if you are, let's say you're doing super long interview episodes, you could break those up into a part A, part B, or 3 parts. You could do an interview and then do a 5-minute top takeaway breakdown the next week. I mean, that's why solo episodes, again, I keep coming back to this. It's like my solo episodes are always under 20 minutes long. So if you're used to an hour interview, you can get 3 solo episodes in that same recording time.
I'm going to put in the show notes how people can reach you and learn about all your programs and obviously your podcast. But what is the biggest issue facing podcasters that you want to just say, hey, do this and you're going to have a better start?
Well, definitely the whole name thing and the art thing, that's going to be huge. I mean, honestly, one of my greatest success stories is I worked with a client in 2022, and we just changed the name of her show and the art, and that was it. I did like a 2-week consultation thing, simple. And she went from 80 downloads per episode to over 100,000 downloads in that next year.
Wow.
So that was all that we changed. So this is really important. Don't be like, I'm not messing with that. Not worth it. It is worth it. So that's number one thing. But I think another thing, like mentally, we have to give ourselves some grace and some space, because most people, have no experience with audio and video and social media marketing. Like, it took me 3 years to figure out podcasting to the point where I made any money and really got any traction. 3 years. I'm in my 8th year. I went full time at the end of my 5th year. And so it was a long, tough journey. So this stat will maybe scare some people and maybe scare them into getting serious about it. But 80% of podcasts don't make it past 10 episodes. Because they get that initial surge and, I got a show, look, Apple Podcasts, show all my bros and like put it out there and all this stuff. And then they realize it's hard. Like, I got to put out content, and it takes time to edit it. And I got to share it on social media, and I got to chase down people for interviews or whatever. Like, it's hard. It's tough.
Is there an AI tool that you recommend using? And I'll just throw in Opus Clips. I love Opus for video.
Yeah, Opus, a lot of people like that. Another platform that I use is VIDYO, video, VIDYO.ai. Very similar to Opus, but I use the free version, and I use it to split up all my video content from my show into social media, like Instagram Reels and stuff like that.
Well, Adam, it has been such a pleasure talking to you. Our time is done, but this was just so great. And thank you so much for all your advice. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you allowing me to collaborate and share your platform. And I enjoy your energy, and I enjoy the way that you show up for your friends and for your audience here. And so all of you that are tuning in regularly to Estelle's show, I just want you to know you're in the right place. She's going to take good care of you.
Thank you. And everybody, so much more on Freelance Writing Direct. Follow me at EstelleErasmus.com on my website, and on social media, which is Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter, at Estelle Erasmus. And we're now on YouTube for Freelance Writing Direct. Follow along, and soon everyone will be reading what you're writing.